David, welcome to People in Legal.
Thank you very much, David.
What a fantastic conference.
It is awesome. I have to say, I think it's the best one that I've been to.
And
I've been in the last 5. So Andrew King's done an amazing job.
he does. He runs an amazing show. Tell us about you.
Okay. So David Wybourne, I have an advisory business. So I spent 15 years in tech and software myself. So on vendor side, so I know what it's like to deal with clients who've got issues, but I was very lucky. I had a mentor in the early days who ran a development company in Malta of all places. And he said to me, it's very important to understand the client's requirement.
Yeah.
And what the client thinks they want is often not what they want.
Yep.
As I've moved into an advisory business, our job is to help clients make those decisions, understand what it is, and which tech is going to be right for them. And that's generally driven by what their objectives are as a firm and where they want to go. So this has been an amazing conference because we're at a really interesting point in the legal space. Law firms are realizing now that some of the technologies that are out there, A, are very good, and B, they're going to kind of need to do it. So the mood has changed. There's a more urgency, and with that urgency has come this requirement that perhaps they don't have all the people they need. And that's where we step in. So that's why I'm here.
So we've had some discussions beforehand and talking about mid-market globally.
So we did a project recently for one of New Zealand's largest firms, and who would sit in that mid-market. And for them, the carrying the overhead of buildings and offices and old establishment, but with the pressure on margin and with the potential move or eventual move, I think, towards alternative billing, like value-based billing, they really need to understand and make sure they can bring in these new technologies, because it's really going to improve the client service. And it's going to improve what they can do for their clients. The mid-market often don't have the people, the workforce required to do this. Your enterprise level firms, Magic Circle, they've got the staff, they've got the internal, or they will bring in one of the big 4 professional consulting firms to help them. The mid-market don't necessarily have that staff, but they want the expertise, people who've worked. So that's where we've really got something to do, because we've got the experience of working in that size. We can come in and we can scale in or scale up or scale down. We can work with the teams they've got and make sure they end up with where they need to be.
What are the top 3 problems or opportunities to improve in the mid-market for firms?
So I think the first thing, without a doubt, is understand this is not going to be what you're expecting.
I love unexpected answers.
The thing that people are expecting is they want to improve the profitability of, non-profit or loss-leading work. They want to be able to access their documents easier. They want to be able to have better visibility over their profit so they can choose and be able to more securely price or have a better understanding of what they're going to make. But actually, those 3 are all outcomes. The 3 most common problems that they have is the boards or the partners don't know where they're going.
Okay, interesting.
They don't have a plan. Any business that operates well has a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan or a 10-year plan. They are operating to a plan, even though that plan means stay the same size. They have a plan, they know exactly, and all the people in the organization know exactly how they fit into that plan. So how can you decide what technology to buy or what you need to improve of your firm if you don't know where you're going? So that's the most common problem I come across. There isn't a clear plan. What comes from it next is they don't really know where they are. So, and that's from a technology point of view. So that's what systems are they using? How do they connect? What's the life? I was just speaking to a firm here today, a smaller mid-market size firm. They know they need to move from their platform. It's going end of life, but they don't know where to go. So what's their technology stack, but also the human element? What are the approach towards using software? What is the approach towards using AI? How many of their authors are familiar with AI, or how many of their authors or lawyers are actually using it already as shadow use? Shadow use is on the quiet.
Okay.
So the CTO or the IT manager in the law firm will have a stack of technology that lawyers are allowed to use. But what's happening as lawyers, because nature finds a way, they've got to get things done. They want to use this technology. So they start using platforms outside. They may not be aware about client security. And of course, that presents a whole governance issue and risks to the law firm. So understanding the human element and understand their technology element. And then the third thing is then they don't have a plan. You need to have a plan to go. And part of that plan will be, we're going to assess which technology we're going to buy. These are the problems we've identified as being the problems that we're going to solve. So we're going to focus first on these particular workflows, or we're going to bring automation into our websites, or we're going to start a fix. So you should start with the problem and then you can implement the solution. So that plan would be the third thing.
What's the attitude to changing and making things better from mid-market firms?
Oh, I think there's great desire now. I think we've reached a tipping point, and certainly in the UK, I would say the UK are quite well advanced compared to where we were 4 years ago. It was quite. New Zealand is still a bit behind. Australia is probably somewhere in between.
Yep.
And the US will be on a par with the UK. They've got the desire, and they're realizing they need to do something. The only thing, and this kind of ties to your question about the problem, but it's more of a thing that you have to deal with, is they're not necessarily aware about the change management element of what they're going to do. You know, you're going to change the way people work. You can change the language. So you might say you're going to evolve the way people work, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to do things differently. And no one likes to do that.
No.
I'm a big 𝘁𝗸𝗄 fan. So I love our icebergers melting, the book, you know, about the 8 steps of change management. And we bring that into the work we do. So, but again, I would say that the mid-market firms, they're aware. They know that they've got to do it and they know it needs to be done. And they know that get the advice, get people in to help to do it.
What does good look like for a mid-market firm?
I'll give you an example. So I worked with a firm right at the outset, the chief exec of the firm. We defined what success looked like. He knew exactly where we had to end up.
Yep.
And we defined what good looked like down to the amount of time it was going to take to implement, the amount of functionality that was going to come out of using the platform. So very good. There was a very definite plan. And the partners and the staff were involved in the decision-making process right from the outset. So everybody came on that journey over the 18 months of this project. 6 months in preparation, from the initial, what are we trying to achieve, to actually going through the selection process of looking at which platforms would be selected. There was delegation from the chief exec. So the different people responsible for the different areas all had freedom to get on and do what they needed to do. There were no log jams. We created a working party, a sort of a working group that would just check to make sure we were doing the right thing. So we would have to report monthly in, are you on track? There was a risk register to show if everything was going. Practice management, document management, these are really disruptive things in a firm to change, using them daily. The next thing that I was super impressed with how the project went was there was a very conscious understanding that we had to make sure the change management element. So the partners of the firm recognized right from the outset that this was going to be different. So they made sure that their full weight was behind the project, which meant that we had plenty of training opportunities. We had plenty of communications going out, even down to little calendars with, you know, top tip, how to do this particular function on this platform. Just little flip charts that could sit on people's desks. There were regional roadshows that would happen all around the country so that everybody had the opportunity to come on. This is why we're doing it. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to be different. And there was good impact analysis. So training, communication, and impact analysis are really important elements of effective change. And they did that exceptionally well.
A hard question, which I think is a hard one to answer, is the difficulty in succession planning for mid-market driving change?
So interesting enough, today I had 3 students. We did a survey of 60 law firms. We spoke to lawyers, partners, staff, and practice managers to basically get an understanding of the community. And we created a quiz from the results. So we had 3 law students come on who are currently studying at 𝘁𝗸𝗄𝘆𝘀 Victoria in Auckland, and they were all sobbing stories, and they did this. And I asked them that very question. I said, how important is it to you? They just assumed that actually going into a law firm, they were going to have these tools to use.
Wow.
And they were quite surprised at the level of maturity law firms are at. So the technology and the adoption of technology is going to be really key. The question that everyone's asking is, well, how much opportunity is there going to be for grads to come into a firm when there's the opportunity for more automation, the operation for more AI? Whatever the case, you're going to need them. Maybe not as many, or maybe there's going to be greater competition, but they're going to be aware of that. So the ones that are good at it are going to shop around too.
I think as well, in terms of actually, like, from a firm valuation point of view, I mean, actually, building a firm up and actually make it as valuable as possible by using the right technology, that's going to drive change.
Oh, totally. And there's a saying, if you've got 2 cars for sale, UK expression MOT, New Zealand expression warrant of fitness. You know, if one's fully MOT'd and it's got a full service history and one hasn't, the one with the full history is more valuable. And it's the same with a law firm. If you've got you know, all the right systems in place, and you can demonstrate you've got visibility of profit, you understand to a matter level what your firm makes and where there are weaknesses and where there are improvements, and your precedents are well documented, that is going to be a lot more valuable than a firm that's just got a good profit. Absolutely. So totally, I would say definitely the technology is crucial to the valuation of a business.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, as well, I guess that people are sort of, another topic that we talked about before was actually around value-based billing.
Yes. Yeah. So this is, I recently ran a workshop on this, and most firms are doing some form of value-based billing. The question is they're not doing as much as they could be, but they are going to need to move it. So I asked the question of the room, and there were 35 partners in the room and another 100 or so authors. If we take the assumption you can now do your legal work, and I know this is a sweeping generalization, if you can now do your work in half the time, does that mean you're going to have to double your price, or you're going to need twice the amount of clients? No one put their hand up and said twice the amount of clients. They just assume that they're going to have to charge more. Now, who says that charging more doesn't make it valuable? There's some key things you need to do to get the value-based billing. You must understand the profitability in your firm. So you're going to need to look at the data. And a lot of firms don't do that. I was staggered the number of partners. The majority, 75% or more, knew which clients they wouldn't want to have. They didn't make them money. It was difficult to get, if they could, and I'm not suggesting they would, but if they could get not do any more work for, they all knew that. Very few, nothing like that percentage, knew who their most profitable were. If you're going to move to value-based billing, you must understand. So that's something we help people do. We go in, we have analysts who go through all the data, look at all the billing, look at all the clients, regularly produce reports that show you, you know, the most amount of profitability per client by matter, by industry, by sector, by lawyer. That information is going to be really key, because it's much easier to make a decision. Oh, that bit of work, yes. That will cost 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, because you've got knowledge to back it up.
What are the triggers that are in a firm for someone to actually like call you guys in?
I think it's the realization that it's a specialist area. That would be the biggest trigger. Most of the people I've spoken to on this conference are senior partners or firm directors. That they know that they need to do something. They know that they need help. We're agnostic, so we don't focus, you know, we know all that there's a lot of really good products out there. There's over 400 legal products.
So you can help people see very clearly where they need to go.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's very much part of the service, is working out which product to look at, and also why. I was just talking to a conveyancing firm, and contract formations and conveyancing work is a key integral part of their business. Two products that they were looking at, one can do that exceptionally well. They can store all their precedents. They've got over 700 precedents that are property specific, very easy to do, very specific migration from the product that they're on, which is end of life. And the other one, not so good. But actually the two platforms are brilliant. They're both very good. Easily, happily recommend them all day long. So it's that knowledge of understanding. And that's where we come in, because we're going to pick what's right for the client.
One of the things I was just thinking about was, if I was trying to construct a business case to make a change in my business, I knew there was something that actually had to happen. I'd call you in to come and talk about that and understand why I want to make the change and the best way to frame that business case up as well, and make sure everyone's aligned.
Yes. Yeah. So we, as I said before, I mean, sometimes the partners are already decided. We always start with, where do you want to go? And then when we then look at where are you now? And then that will highlight problems that need to be solved. We can't do this level of service because we can't do it fast enough, or we're not profitable enough in this area, or we need to do more of this. We don't have this tool. Then we can come up with a plan. So that's how we approach it. And then we can make the right suggestion.
And I guess, given your knowledge of the legal industry and also technology as well, so you're doing business all around the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a secret geek. I like it.
Love it.
I like legal tech.
David, thank you so much for your time today.